In 1959, the frozen bodies of a 9-member ski hiking expedition that had gone missing weeks and weeks before in the northern Urals of the Soviet Union were found near their campsite on a mountain called Kolak, which according to Russian sources means dead mountain in the indigenous Mansi language, made up mostly of students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute a few hundred miles away in Yekaterinburg. The team had set out on the 27th of January to reach another mountain about 7 miles away, Gora Otoran, which means don't go there in Mansi. After being sidetracked by a snowstorm, they pitched a tent on the eastern slope of Kolak on the 2nd of February. That night, they died. Apart from the fact that they were frozen to death, no one knows why. Police and military investigators charged with solving the case were baffled by what they found. The skiers' tent had been sliced open from the inside and hurriedly abandoned. Their belongings were still inside, but the skiers weren't. The placement and condition of their bodies, some found as far as almost a mile away from the tent and buried under 4 meters of snow, were odd to say the least. April 2013, an article on the Telegraph describes the grisly scene. Investigators found footprints in the snow of 8 or 9 people who were wearing socks, a single shoe, or were barefoot. The footsteps led towards a dense forest but disappeared after 500 meters. The first 2 bodies of 2 men, barefoot and dressed only in their underclothes, were found at the edge of the forest near the remains of a fire. The next 3 bodies, one of expedition leader Igor Dyatlov and another man and a woman, were found between the fire and the tent, suggesting that they had been trying to return to the tent. Autopsies failed to find any evidence of foul play. An inquest concluded that all 5 had died of hypothermia. 2 months later, however, the partially dressed bodies of the other 4 members of the team were discovered in a forest ravine, not far from the first 2 bodies. They appear to have suffered traumatic pressure or crush injuries, and the tongue of one had been ripped out. Otherwise, there were no external injuries, but tests conducted on their bodies and clothing showed small traces of radiation. The investigators concluded, enigmatically, that the skiers died because they encountered a natural force they were unable to overcome. Public access to the site was banned for 3 years. The results of the investigation were classified. If ever there was a surefire recipe to whip up rumours and conspiracy theories, this was it. The conclusion was vague, the evidence under lock and key. There was more questions left unanswered than answered. A complete way to drive conspiracy theories up the wall. With this story comes a few theories, which I will be explaining at the end. Why, for example, did the skiers flee the relative safety of the tent? Why did they leave their belongings, including warmer clothing, behind? Why did some of them simply freeze to death while others showed signs of internal trauma? Who or what removed the tongue of one of the victims? Why were there traces of radiation on their clothing? And then, of course, there were the UFOs. in this, there's like 4 or 5 theories behind this mysterious story. Let me know in the comments which you think it was. Number 1. Fireballs. It was reported that eyewitnesses in the northern Urals saw fast-moving balls of fire in the night sky around the time of the Dyatlov Pass incident. It has been suggested, plausibly, that these were Soviet missiles or rocket tests. But another theory, and here we encounter the earliest paranormal explanation of the incident, holds that the fireballs exploded or emitted a beam of unspecified energy that directly caused the skiers' deaths. That theory was proposed 31 years after the fact, oddly enough, by one of the original investigators in the case, a former public prosecutor named Lev Ivanov. But Ivanov's fireball theory presupposes that the reported sightings match up with the actual date of the incident, the 2nd of February, an assumption that has been challenged by another author, Russian mountaineer Evgeny Boyanov, who says he found no variable reports of unidentified flying objects in the Urals on those dates. Before Ivanov's 1990 article came out, the predominant explanations for the Dyatlov deaths focused on straightforward natural causes, avalanche or animal attack, for example. Human attack, though not possible, was ruled out by investigators for lack of evidence, or secret government activity such as military or KGB operations the skiers unknowingly stumbled upon. Despite the declassification and release of the case files in the intervening years, the contents of which were eventually published online, the original documents did little to resolve lingering quandaries and in fact only seemed to prompt further outlandish speculation. Number 2. The Yeti. The wackiest theory to date is that proposed in the June 2014 Discovery Channel documentary called Spoiler Alert. Russian Yeti, the killer lives. This is from the press release announcing the show's first airing. On February 2nd, 1959, 9 college students hiked up the icy slopes of the Ural Mountains in the heart of Russia, but never made it out alive. Investigators had never been able to give a definite answer behind who or what caused the bizarre crime scene. 55 years later, American explorer Mike Lebecki reinvestigates the mystery, known as the Dyatlov Pass incident. But what he uncovers is truly horrifying. Following the trail of evidence, Mike finds proof that the hikers were not alone. A photograph taken by one of the hikers a day before they died suggests that they encountered a Yeti. Yes, you heard me right, a real-life Yeti. According to the Discovery Channel, the Dyatlov group met their deaths at the hands of a Yeti, also known as the Abominable Snowman or the Bigfoot. It has long been rumoured that the Yeti-like beast inhabits the wilds of Siberia and the Ural Mountains to the west. Although, like everywhere else, these so-called Yetis have allegedly been sighted. No one has come forward with verifiable evidence of their existence. Nevertheless, the show's host Mike Lebecki that the Dyatlov Pass incident proves they're real. When I found out one of the students was missing a tongue, immediately I knew this was not caused by an avalanche. Lebecki said something ripped out the tongue of this woman. Which is pretty obvious, isn't it? If you've got a tongue missing, an avalanche isn't going to rip it out. That's something Lebecki naturally concluded could only have been a Yeti, As further evidence, he presented an alleged photo of the Yeti, snapped by a member of the Dyatlov expedition. The only problem with this picture is it was highly out of focus and could have been a member of the actual team they were with. You know, I'll put a picture up on screen. You let me know what you think. Number 3. Infrasound. Number 3. Infrasound. In simplest terms, a Kalman vortex street is an oscillating pattern that emerges when a fluid or gas, in this instance wind, flows around a sustainably shaped object, in this instance a topographical feature, the mountain. When they occur on such a large scale, these wind patterns can theoretically generate a very low frequency sound waves that have been blamed for harmful psychological and physiological symptoms in human beings. According to a 2001 review of the medical literature and the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, such symptoms range from annoyance to fatigue to nausea, etc., etc. I personally don't think it's the infrasound. I've never even heard of this until I was making this video. But it just doesn't sound plausible, you know. Why would, you know, how would that, you know what I mean? Personally, I think it could be the Yeti. Number 4. The Avalanche. But, I mean, again, guys, you know, someone had their tongue ripped out. Okay, guys, let me give you the last one, an avalanche. Out of all these, this seems the most plausible, but it doesn't. I mean, you know, you may object that an avalanche doesn't explain everything. The radioactivity found on some of the bodies, for example. But neither does a Yeti attack, a Kalman vortex street, nor, given that we don't even have proof that they were in the vicinity when the skiers met their fate, unidentified flying balls of fire. I mean, it's pretty baffling, isn't it? I mean, do you believe in the Yeti is the question at the end of this, I feel. Do you think the Yeti did this? I mean, did it rip someone's tongue out? You know? Did it just kill him for the fun of it? No. There's loads and loads about this story, guys. I cut some of it out of this video just so I could, just because I didn't want it to go on for like an hour. But, yeah, but I'm really intrigued to know what people think. So if you get to the end of this, give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a comment on what you think, and let me know how it did. Thank you very much for listening.